Hello, and welcome back to If There's a Hell Below, conversation number 2. I'm here with producer Justin Schardin. How you doing, Justin?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. We're at day 5, I think, of our crowdfunding campaign on Seed and Spark. So
Yeah.
I invite people to contrast my appearance in the first video with my appearance now. See how healthy I look, how the hours are treating me. So quick update on the campaign. It's been going very well. We had the typical big boost at the beginning, which is not to say we take it for granted, but that's kind of the pattern these things take. And we're definitely entering the slower middle period. And the challenge for us is to make sure we're still spreading the word and keeping people excited and having new things to share about the film and the production as we go through that. So we're not counting on a big exciting boost at the end, which is generally the two most active periods, that we're close at the end rather than, wow, we have to make up half of it. So I'm probably going to post like an actual chart, but here's a little chart of where things stand. The black line is where we are. The red dots are where we need to be. So on Tuesday, the way these patterns go, we'd really like to be at 30%. And I think we're at 21 or 22% as we record this. I'm going to post this a day later. So we're in the ballpark of where we need to be, but it's not nothing we take for granted. So
that's a high-tech graphic.
Yeah.
You can see that we're not wasting money on those things.
Yes, there's no.
It says horizontal axis.
It still says horizontal axis title.
Yes.
I'm going to post like an actual graphic of that graph, maybe updated
good.
with the data tomorrow.
I think it's a plus.
So for those of you who have contributed, thank you so much. It's huge, and it's wonderful to have those contributions early in the period because they show the vitality of our project, and people who may not be share my last name, showing up saying, oh, this project's going somewhere, it has some momentum, not you show up and it's at 2% and you think, as neat as this looks, they're never going to get there. So we certainly appreciate that, and please keep spreading the word about it, and we'll do it.
Because just everybody contribute to this is going to be a great project. Already is.
And if you have contributed or you cannot for some reason, which understandable, you can follow us on the page, which is great. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter if you are a Twitterer, and let other people know, because someone you may know may be able to contribute when you can't, or contribute more than you, or may be able to let someone else know about it.
If your assets have been frozen overseas, we accept gold.
Yes. I'll have our lawyer check.
We'll find a way.
You find the Swiss bank account they can send the gold to.
Sure.
To elaborate on who you are, Justin, you are a producer on the film, but you are not a motion picture careerist yet.
Right.
I'm going to lure you in to the incredibly lucrative movie business.
Yeah.
But right now you work at the Center?
I work at a think tank, yes, and I've had a few other careers, and have just been a big movie fan for many years. And you and I have had many discussions about what we like. We tend to have some similar tastes.
Yeah, we have a healthy amount of crossover in our Venn diagram.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the fact that my best working relationship I've ever had was with you certainly made this exciting to try again and just see what ways I could help from 3,000 miles away. For people wondering out there, what makes a Nathan Williams movie? What's your brand?
I wish I had a brand that if you say Nathan Williams, people are like, oh, I know exactly what that means. But I think there's some commonalities in my work, and there's certainly the same things motivate my work. I like to think of all my movies in a way as detective films, in that the viewer is often the detective. I don't try to make frustrating esoteric movies. I don't want to I'm not trying to be oblique to show off, but I like to invite people to look beneath the surface of things and find depth and wonder. You know, the characters aren't always saying exactly what they mean, and I'm hardly unique in this, but that's kind of what interests me. Often scenes in a movie, in movies I make, what the people are saying is the least important part of it, and sometimes it's the most important. There's no one rule, but I like to offer sort of complexity that invites people to dig into it and to think about it, and ideally to rewatch it. I'm not trying to be Captain Beefheart, where you have to watch a movie 40 times to get it. But I'd like to make movies that are better the second time or the third time or the fourth time. And my favorite movies are almost always like that.
So if I'm going to make an analogy to comedy, you're not interested in somebody getting hit in the head with a hammer. You're interested in a joke you have to think about a little bit.
Yeah, or I mean, there's the hit in the head with a hammer, but in the background of that same shot, there's somebody reacting to it that's subtle and interesting at the same time. I rarely have good guys or bad guys. There's people who do bad things or
Right.
good things, but I like to explore who those people are and not necessarily explain them in terms of excuse them, but see them as complete human beings.
Let me ask it this way. What do people say stylistically your films remind them of?
I tend to have a fairly classical style. People seem to say that I often will hold wide shots longer than most people. I have a fairly classical editing style. I compose in depth, that there's a foreground and a background, and this is not exclusively me, but that I don't, I'm not using really long lenses. I'm not being very cutty. I don't use score a lot, which is not a classical thing. That's a fairly kind of modern thing. That I have musical sequences generally, or nothing. I rarely have a scene where people are doing something, speaking to each other, where there's score in the background.
Mm-hmm. You sort of let it speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean, when there's music, I want you to pay attention to the music, and when there's not, I mean, when there's the scene's happening, I don't want music to be distracting from it.
Yeah.
And that's appropriate to my style. I love films that use score a lot, and I love films that do very different things. I mean, those are my perceptions of my style. I certainly invite people watching this, if you haven't watched my shorts. A number of them are on this YouTube channel that you may be watching this on. Many are on Vimeo. Check them out. I hope you like them.
Dinner Table, Things Left Behind.
CB,
right?
Nightstand.
Right.
Those are the publicly available ones.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier than that, Rougher.
To get those kinds of thoughts to show up on the screen, you need actors who can portray that subtlety.
Yes.
Their performances and show 3 different things at once.
I like actors who can just be, who can exist, who are comfortable. I will rarely have a scene that's like this, but in an audition, if I say you're just sitting at a bus stop waiting for the bus, and they can do that and they feel comfortable doing that and they don't feel the need to do too much. I think a lot of actors feel like they need to actively try to be interesting all the time, and I'm someone who finds people behaving naturally interesting usually. And I think certain actors are just more comfortable at times doing less. And that isn't to say minimalism is always the right way. I think actors being minimal can often be as showy as actors being hammy, but just existing on camera is a talent. It seems simple, but you point a camera at most people and they get very self-conscious, and they either do nothing, like in a I'm Frozen way, which is unnatural, or they do too much. They're very, I'm going to do this with my hands, and probably what I'm doing now on this camera, because I don't have this talent. I like casting people that are fun to work with, that are pleasant to work with. It probably goes without saying, but someone who's really talented, who's difficult to work with, unless they're so talented and bring so much incredible value to the table that it's worth it, it's difficult, because making a movie at this budget level is very, very hard. Everybody's making less than they could otherwise, and if one person or two people are making it really unpleasant for everyone, I think everyone's work suffers. And then kind of that something special, that star quality, that something that makes them more interesting than a normal person. They can be natural, but also more interesting. The Bill Murray has it in spades. I mean, he can do the most banal thing, and he's captivating.
Yes.
And not every actor has that, because he's one in 100 million, but that's that sort of quality. We're a small film which doesn't have big stars. We have great actors, but they're not famous yet. I am not a household name. The source material is not a household name. As a viewer, what draws you to a film featuring personnel you don't know?
For me, it's a lot of different things, but the most important thing for me is verisimilitude. And that is that a film has to be realistic within the context in which it's given, within the premise.
Right.
So a stupid comedy that is not supposed to make any sense has a very different set of rules for it than a drama that's supposed to be true to life.
Right.
And so that's the realism of the dialogue, the reactions of the actors, everything surrounding that. And I would say also just really memorable shots and dialogue.
So if you see a trailer and it doesn't have an actor in it, and it's not directed by the Coen brothers, but if the shots look captivating and it seems to have internal consistency of tone, verisimilitude, and it seems smart, you'll consider seeing that movie.
I'll consider seeing any kind of movie that gets pretty decent reviews, or even if it's halfway decent and it looks really interesting. But those are the ones that I'm going to see first among those lists.
Right.
I mean,
so
I think I could
still help you filter the wheat from the chaff.
I mean, I'll even enjoy a good romantic comedy if it's done really well. There just aren't that many of them. But yeah, so the kinds that you're describing are going to be more up my alley.
Right. But in terms of your kind of viewing week, if there's a Sundance movie that features no one you've ever heard of, but it's getting rave reviews, that's
no problem. I'm looking forward to seeing that then.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we need to get some good reviews then.
Yes.
Get your bribe envelopes ready.
Yes.
Whatever it takes.
That's what the producer's job is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bribery and graft.
Taking out Gene Shalit for a fancy dinner.
Gene. Has he still got the mutton chops? Or whatever those were?
I assume that's his trademark.
I guess, yeah.
That would be a violation of his brand to get rid of those.
It's the mutton chops and saying, I loved it!
So I invite our viewers, listeners, to weigh in on what makes you see a film. And I'm not just trying to build conversation to build conversation. Like, we want to know. We plan on making a great movie, but even after that, our battle is only half done. We need to find ways to get this movie seen. So what makes you? How do you find movies? Is it Gene Shalit? Is it it pops up on Netflix just at the right time? Is it a trailer that just grabs you? We're interested. Also, take a look at my past films and tell me if I'm totally wrong in evaluating what they're about, what's consistent among them. Well, let's wrap it up for this week. I know we will connect again on a future conversation. I don't know what number, but anything you'd like to add to our fan base before we
Go to Seed and Spark, follow it. You're going to have a lot of these content updates coming up. You're doing a pretty amazing job with that. So watch them, and I think you'll be pleased with what you see.
Yeah, we've got some more fun kind of movie world updates coming too. A certain entity has intercepted a Skype between Abe and his girlfriend back in Chicago.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Please do.
I don't know how many people out there have funded crowd-funded projects like this. I've done a number of them in the past, including a couple of years, but some other things, some games, different things, and it's such a great feeling to be part of something like that that may not have otherwise gotten funded, and you get an actual film at the end that you were one of a small group of people who were responsible for. Give that a try if you have not done that before. It's you know, even if it's a small amount of money, I think you'll be happy you did it.
Yes, I have never regretted supporting a project at different levels, and you know, the ability to make something happen, you know, on an existential level is a great feeling. So whatever level makes sense for you, you'll feel good. And then you'll get to see the movie and say, this could not have happened without me.
Yes.
So, cool. Well, thanks for watching and or listening, and we'll check back in Conversations number 3 very soon. Have a good one.